Welcome to this next episode of YouTube entitled Time to Get Reacquainted. And what we're referring to is Luna. And as many people may know, we were scheduled to do the 4-week post-op x-rays on Tuesday, which we did in Ely. Our initial analysis of the x-rays with the Ely vets looked like the plate is holding. It does appear that there's calcified bone that's adhering to the plate, and she looked in better condition than the first set of x-rays. We did send them to the University of Minnesota for their consult, and that was on Tuesday morning, and as of this recording on Friday, we have not heard back from them yet. So upon the recommendation of the Ely vets, they thought that she could have a little bit more access, a little bit more exercise to get some muscle mass back on that leg. And again, we're not giving her full access till we hear back from the U, but giving her an opportunity to kind of explore a little bit. And we're watching that closely with Boltz, making sure that Boltz isn't too rough with her. And what we are tending to do is give her free time in the yard alone, and then give Boltz free time in the yard alone, and see how that works. So you can see here, the issue is actually not with Boltz. The issue is that Luna is a little bit excitable, and that is a good thing. We wanted her to socially engage. We were worried about the isolation, maybe, where she wasn't socially attached to, the Aiden or Denali or Boltz. But you can see here she's doing pretty well. She is running a little bit, and again, we're keeping an eye on that and making sure it's not too active, but definitely want to give her some opportunity to gain some muscle on that leg and to be able to interact. What we were most impressed with is when she went to the fence for the first time, Denali actually regurgitated for her twice, and I don't have a video footage of it. We were doing something else when it happened, and so we don't have footage, but this footage just shows you clearly how Aiden and Denali are excited to see her rubbing up against the fence, and you can see Luna's ears drop in a submissive posture, and she's again tail wagging the whole time, excited to greet. That's Aiden rubbing up against the fence for her, and as I said, Denali regurgitated for her. Aiden did not, and I don't think that means anything. It's just that Denali was down next to the fence when we let her out the first time, and Aiden was in the den. Aiden does spend a fair amount of time in the den with his nose kind of being with that discoid lupus condition. He stays in the shaded areas most of the day. What's also interesting is the behavioral response stimulated in Aiden and Denali as they again engage with each other in a social mechanism, jaw sparring and doing some rub under chins and rolling around for each other and rubbing against each other, doing a ride up, and that's what Aiden's doing there, kind of pouncing on Denali and really being, again, socially engaging when those pups are out. And as I said, the lupus condition, we thought we had some really good advancement a few weeks ago, and then it just kind of quit, where pigmentation was growing in from the sides and then pretty much quit. And so we're continuing to try to treat that. We are not very successful with the antibiotic dose. Right now what I'm trying to treat is keep that nose covered with suntan lotion, and it was getting a little dry, so we put some lanolin on it, and that's what he was doing, was rubbing that lanolin off. It certainly is pretty strong smelling, and so it is something that he is tending to avoid, and so I'm going to have to be trying something different. Don't want him to avoid contact with me altogether, but again, he's getting kind of fed up with the suntan lotion as well as the other ointment treatments. And we still need to obviously treat him for things like biting flies and fly ointment. These two are actually really good about getting fly ointment. With Aiden, I basically need to wait until he's in a subordinate posture, scratch his belly a little bit, and get him to roll over, and then I have a pretty easy time putting fly ointment on him. The nose treatment, that's a little bit harder because I have to reach over the top of his head, which makes him a little intimidated to get that coating on his nose. But again, it is important in the sun to try to cover that and avoid any kind of burns to that. Denali, on the other hand, is as easy as wolves can get from the standpoint of receiving fly ointment. He stands like he's at a grooming table, and he allows us to brush him, to put the ointment on his ears, and you can see in this clip he is dosed with fly ointment on the tips of his ears. He has not really started shedding much. We're just starting to get hair out of him as of today. When I started grooming him, I'm starting to really pull some of that undercoat, but for the most part he is way behind in shedding compared to the other wolves. But Grizzer is way ahead in shedding, And we've almost got, other than his neck and a little bit of butt hair, we've got a majority of the hair out of Grizzer's coat, and that helps them cool off a bit. Just kind of give you a close-up shot here. The guard hairs are the long hairs. Those are the permanent hairs. It's the undercoat, and you can see a little piece of undercoat there dangling. That's what we're trying to groom out. And I tried to film this next clip where I was actually brushing him while I was filming, which is a little bit unsteady, and hopefully it's not too annoying to watch. But for the most part, Grizzer enjoys the brushing. I mean, that's a real socially engaging thing for him with Wolf Care staff. Multiple people are brushing him, so it's not just one person that may be grooming him. But as you can see with the brush here, we kind of gently try to pull that undercoat out from beneath the guard hairs. And we do use that undercoat. We've made bracelets out of it. We've, done some other things with it. So right now we're just bagging it and saving it. But this undercoat is something that's shed just once a year. That's when wolves shed, versus dogs who might shed multiple times a year. Wolves typically just shed in that June kind of pattern. In retirement, we have a little bit more of a struggle. These two are not as conditioned to brushing, and they're also not as conditioned to fly ointment. And you can see the biting flies have been a little bit hard on Malik's right ear. You can tell which side he lays on. He also has been rolling in the dirt, and part of that is in response when we do try to put fly ointment on them. We might miss the tips of their ears and get the tops of their heads, just something to give them treated. And we are actually switching to a spray ointment for these two, and hopefully going to try to get them better coverage. But they're just starting shedding as well, so they're kind of in the same time frame as Denali. The only other issue that we have really been experiencing is that Shadow has been overheating a little bit, and that's something, again, that could be related to the amount of hair that he has, or it could be something about his physiology, far more than Malik, as he has an issue with heat. And so we've been using sprinkler systems. He stands under the sprinkler and really coats himself pretty well, but most of the time what he does is he goes into some vegetation, some pretty heavy canopy cover. And we've been very fortunate. We have a couple of species in here that are disturbance species. Elderberry is the main dominant cover type in this enclosure, and we didn't plant any of that. That was all based on when we excavated for the expansion of the retirement pen. Somewhere in the soil were elderberry seeds, and they just kind of took off. The other thing that really can help them out is that dense cover not only helps with providing coolness or providing shade, but anytime that there's branches down or trees down, as they walk through them, it helps pluck off some of that undercoat. And that's what's going on in the wild. You can walk through multiple forest trails, and every once in a while you'll see a dangling piece of undercoat typically from what happens for wolves, coyotes, fox, anything that's shedding and happens to be walking through. So that's been helpful. But so that's a bit for the YouTube this week. Again, we are happy to report that, at least from our first indication, that Luna's doing well. The whole idea that Denali's regurgitating for her is certainly a good indication, and she's growing. She's 20 pounds today, and Boltz is 30 pounds. So that's it. Thanks for watching.